How's it going, John?
Oh, I am tired tonight. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I am tired of the rain already.
Yes, equally tired. My and your book became available, was it Tuesday night?
That's right.
Tuesday? And
Monday night. It was
Monday night.
late Monday night. Yeah.
Right. So, Rhythm of War, Brandon Sanderson. And yeah, every spare moment I have. Lunch today was a sandwich and a chapter. Last night I should not have read as much as I did.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. I took a break for lunch today and spent it sitting in my recliner. Well, this is TMI, but eating leftover stir fry and reading. I don't know that I got a full chapter in, but spend a few minutes downtime reading. Although I after tonight, after dinner and working with my son on some homework for a bit, I sat down on the couch to read a little bit more, and I totally fell asleep for almost an hour, probably. It was pretty bad. It was bad enough that I was glad I had an alarm set at 9:15 to remind me to come downstairs. So, but anyway, no, it's all good. It's all good. Boy, was it raining outside today.
I don't know if you got hail too. Apparently we got hail.
Oh, hail if I know. Sorry. I don't know. I don't remember hearing anything, but I just, I look out my, the window kind of behind my desk, and, it's underneath we've got a deck out at our, I'm in the basement,
right.
Daylight basement looking out, but it's underneath our back deck. And I just look at the water dripping off of the boards. It was pouring buckets.
Yeah, I didn't notice the hail. My boy mentioned it. He said it hailed twice today. Did you see it? I'm like, no. I don't think I remember hearing heavy rain, but it must have been a light hail because I don't remember hearing it so much. So, but yeah, it was, we're now in the rainy season. Very clearly. Very
clearly. Yeah. I gotta just, grin and bear it for a few months, probably. We, this past weekend, we didn't enter the weekend with massive, with big plans of a big project to do or anything like that. But, we did have another thing that needed to really happen before the winter. And now looking at how much it's rained since then, I'm really glad we did this past weekend. But, basically I worked on more fencing. There's a reason why, that's kind of a trope. You're always mending fences, or something like that. But, this is just, we had a temporary, fence put up for, some goats that, let them into a larger area, but we wanted to put up a little bit more permanent fence, expanding it's too small to be called a pasture, but it's too big for a pen, too small for a pasture. I don't know. Pensture? I don't know.
A pensture.
Anyway, so we went and got, I think we got 8 16-foot panels on Saturday. Just down at the, farm store. But Saturday was totally rainy. I was really glad that, as we were driving, I'm like, this is a good day to be driving to the store to get supplies, as opposed to actually being out and about, working in the weather.
Right.
Right. But, so yeah, I didn't really do hardly anything Saturday, but then spent most of Sunday outside, getting that fencing up. And then what else did we do on Sunday? Oh, we got our flu shots on Sunday. So, that was, traipse the whole family down to Rite Aid to get a shot, which well, hopefully that will prevent us from getting flu. And we asked the pharmacist that was giving the shots. She said that there are many times more flu shots already that they've done this year than previous years. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I would assume that people are more, I don't know, ready, trying to be prepared. Don't want sort of the double whammy of potentially COVID plus something else. And,
Yeah, especially because a lot of the symptoms are the same.
Yeah. No, I asked. I was going to say I asked what their plan was, if they were going to be able to just give the potential vaccine shots, and she's like, I don't know what they'll be doing, but who knows? There was another vaccine announced this week. That's another exciting thing. Not my something fun this week, but
I think I saw Fauci mentioned that most Americans should be able to get it by April. That the initial early stuff would be February and March for, the frontline hospital workers and others. And he said most Americans, looks like by April, should be able to get a vaccine. And he even said, I'm going to get one. So
awesome. Well,
there you go.
My fingers are crossed. No, the thing I saw about the second one, which I don't remember I don't remember. This is terrible. I don't remember who it was who was announcing it, but I did see a comment that it was financed at least in part by Dolly Parton. So
yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. What else? Was there something else I was going to say? Oh, the other thing I was going to say about this past weekend is I lost another tree, most of another tree, which must have been Friday. We had a storm on Friday, kind of a storm on Friday, but it didn't seem like it was that windy. But I lost about half of just a gigantic ash tree that's down on our property. And we call it the bee tree because there was kind of a hole in the crotch of the tree that had a honeybee nest in there for 2 years. The first couple of years we were in the house.
Is that the clinical term? The crotch of the tree? I've never heard it called the crotch of the tree before.
I don't know. I think so.
Hold on. A tree crotch is a pocket located at the bottom of a point of connection between two or more tree limbs or tree trunks. This is where the tree branch grows directly from the tree trunk, creating a pocket where they meet. I have never heard that referred to as the crotch before. I learned something today. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. I have no idea at what point in time in my life I learned that. So, but anyway, so the sad part is, well, couple sad parts. A, tree. Oh, that's the sadder. But also now I've got a whole nother gigantic chunk of semi-rotted tree to chop up and take to the burn pile, or if there's anything good, like burning wood, split it up and have it available for firewood.
Right.
But just another day, another project.
My weekend was more stuff around the house. We actually ended up going for our regular Costco run, and we got there, and there were long lines. And my wife mentioned, I haven't seen lines like this for a while. And it occurs to me, of course, that with the lockdown that started today here in Oregon,
that's right.
No, not lockdown. They call it a pause. But the thing, the freeze, the pause that's going on in Oregon that started today, the lines for toilet paper were back. Because we get in line. It went pretty fast, so it wasn't that. But we're outside in the rain on Saturday, around the outside of the store of Costco as they're letting people in as other people are leaving.
Oh,
and as people are leaving, I'm noticing every cart has a thing of toilet paper and a thing of paper towels. And I look at my wife. I'm like, did we need toilet paper? She's like, yeah, it's actually on the list. I'm like, oh, great. Hopefully there was tons. But people in the line behind us were saying that they had come last night. They were there only for toilet paper because she's like, I got 5 kids and we were here last night and they were all out, but they said they were getting a shipment in and to come in the morning.
Oh.
You know, we were there when they opened and figured we'd have a quick Zoom Costco run because we were there when it opened. We just, do that. But there were lines and like, oh, great. You're back in lockdown when Americans start hoarding toilet paper. So
that is a yeah. Oh.
Other than that, it was mostly just things around the house. Same old, yeah, being indoors. So
yeah, well, hey, if you want to get practice with a chainsaw, let me know. I'll allow you to volunteer at sorry.
I think that might be fun to have to show my boy some of those, because I remember as a kid going out to my grandpa's farm, and I can't have been much older than him, and chopping wood with a chainsaw and then an axe for things I used to do as a kid. I don't know if I would be comfortable with my kids doing them anymore.
Oh, I'm absolutely like look back on. Wait, what? Because I remember. When I was probably 17, I don't remember it when I was 16, but by the time I was 17, my parents were okay with me taking the boat out on the ocean, like myself with friends, to go fishing or not scuba diving. We would water skiing. No, we would water ski in Juneau, Alaska. So dumb teenagers. Could I add another dumb in there? Because no wetsuits. No.
Right.
No, this was just jump in the ocean. And, because we can go water skiing. Come on, let's go water skiing. Okay, let's go water skiing. Like, and I don't think you could pay me to do that at this point. And nor I think my kids, if asked to do that, they would be like, what? But maybe it would be different if it was their own friends, if your friends ask you to jump off a bridge, if your friends ask you to go water skiing in 50-degree water. Just FYI, the ocean outside Juneau, Alaska is never warm. Anyway, I remember, sorry, the story, I guess maybe a little bit, but I remember one time, and this was long before our cell phones, right? This would have been in the 80s. And Juneau, so I grew up in Juneau, or my high school days were in Juneau. And Juneau is like, 30 miles, maybe 40 miles. I don't know, from one end of the road to the other, right? Because you can go, it's landlocked. I mean, it's on the mainland, but you can't drive out. You can drive, a number of miles north to the end of the road, or you can drive a number of miles south to the end of the road. And, up towards the north end of the road, there are some boat launches, and I think I'd gone up camping with a friend. We'd taken the boat and gone crabbing or something like that. And coming back, we broke the tongue of the trailer, as in like it broke off.
Snapped off.
It totally snapped off. And, it had chains on it. So, I was able to, the boat didn't, crash, turn over, flip over, anything like that. But, I had to stop. And then you're out in the quote unquote middle of nowhere. What are you going to do? And so I had to unhitch the boat and leave it in the middle of the road, basically, a little bit off the side of the road on a 2-lane road, and get in a truck and drive in to find my dad and be like, what do I do? At which point in time we drove out there. I think we took 2 cars, and then one of us stayed out there while he went back in and had to find a welder to come out and, basically fix, jack up and weld the tongue of the trailer back on so that we could tow it back out. Right. I mean, that was one of my, as a 17-year-old, maybe I was 18 at that point. I don't know. Being like, I have no idea what to do at this point. Anyway.
Yeah.
Fun things.
Mm-hmm.
Fun things. But I guess that's all from, I was doing stuff at, 16, 17, 18 that I don't like.
Different world.
Totally, I guess. It is what it is. It is what it is.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, I had one thing in follow-up here, and this was kind of a election-related follow-up in the sense that Massachusetts passed a ballot initiative that enforces their right to repair. So we've talked just once or twice over the course of the podcast about right to repair, tractors, John Deere. Many things, right to repair, meaning you bought it, but can the company selling you the item that is supposedly yours actually enforce things like the DMCA, the anti-copyright tampering act, to do things like prevent you from being able to read or diagnose problems or, repair it. So, I think we've mostly talked about this in the context of John Deere, requiring things to be only repaired by their, authorized shops that are essentially have the software to enforce that, it'll brick the device or brick your $200,000 tractor if you don't use their repair shop. Let's see. So they passed a ballot initiative to allow independent repair shops to access critical information about their cars by an overwhelming 74.9% majority. So, that does mean that 25.1% of people think, nah, I don't want to own the things I buy. Okay, I guess. But the other things about this, the couple things that, the link that we'll put in here is to the Electronic Frontier Foundation website. But in 2012, the state voted by initiative, it says, to protect the rights of drivers to take their cars to independent mechanics rather than forcing everyone to go to the service depots run by manufacturers. Yet, it goes on, quote, since that law went into effect, manufacturers worked to erode that right to repair, redesigning their products in ways that took repair choices from drivers yet again. And then here's kind of the final thing. So the manufacturers are kind of crying foul and that, they need, they want 3 years for the law to not be put into effect, for a few years so that they could make changes. But the Electronic Frontier Foundation is basically like, this is coming. You've worked to subvert the law since 2012. Absolutely. I mean, obviously their standpoint, absolutely not. So here's the final quote from them. Quote, we urge the legislature to do their jobs and listen to the voters rather than rewarding automakers who subverted an incredibly popular law, extracted undeserved profits from the people of Massachusetts, and then mulishly refused to prepare for the absolute pasting they were obviously going to get when Bay Staters went back to the ballot box in 2020. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Mulishly is a great word.
Mulishly refused. That and absolute pasting. That seems like a British euphemism, but maybe it's an East Coast euphemism. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I am, consider me solidly on the right to repair, please.
Right.
I have...
Correct.
Correct is a better Yeah, I mean, I don't have none of my cars, none of my not my tractor, my wife's tractor, are new enough to have any of these things, but I don't want it to be forced when I do wind up having to upgrade.
Yeah.
You should feel bad for my son who has to learn how to drive A on a stick shift and B with no rear camera.
Yeah.
It's good for it's
builds character.
Yeah, it builds character. It's good for the Constitution.
That's right. All right. Well, I have two topics. My first topic this week was, you know how your phones invented this concept of notifications, where you would be in an app and some other app would pop a message at the top to inform you of something that you clearly wanted to know. And at some point, somehow, browser developers said, hey, let's let any website ask you if they can send you notifications.
Such a terrible idea.
I don't understand this one. So in general, I say no on principle.
Absolutely.
And there is a link in this article that we'll link to that shows you how to make your browser turn that off so that it will never even ask you again. If you are of the mind of, why does this website want to notify me of something?
I did not actually realize you could turn off that as a preference. I will be doing that immediately after this recording.
Yeah. And so this is probably should come as no surprise to anybody that listens to this, but companies have started
to
abuse the websites who want to do that. So of course there is a company called Push Welcome who says, hey, we can help you monetize traffic from your visitors by allowing us to push notifications to your website. Assuming someone says yes.
Oh, gosh.
Right. So, of course, now, and this is a Krebs article, of course, now, if you're an advertiser, you can get push notifications to install other software, ads for dating site, erectile dysfunction medications, and other dubious investment opportunities. That's a quote from the article. So, good times.
So I own some popular website, but I have low ethical standards. So I subscribe to this, and then Push Welcome can push to my peeps.
Anyone who visits your website.
Advertisers or whatever, and they give me a kickback.
Exactly.
Of some sort. Yeah.
Of course. Good times. So, if you needed any more data on why you should say no, even legitimate sites, maybe it's like your favorite, like the New York Times. I to be honest, I don't know if New York Times actually offers to push.
It seems like most news sites do. I don't.
Even if it's a news site you trust, maybe you don't want to. Anyways, because do you really need to have... I could go off on a whole rant here, but anyways, so we'll link to the article the Krebs article that mentions this and how these are kind of scammy, and this seems to be a rise of some scammy companies that are doing exactly what we just described, and maybe you might want to go follow the guide that is linked in the article on how to disable those notification prompts in Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. It doesn't mention Edge or Internet Explorer, but I'm sure there are ways to do it there as well. So share that with your family and friends. Disable notifications in browser. Disable browser notifications entirely.
Yeah, and do it for your friends and family.
Yeah. And then the second article, which I'm laughing, which I shouldn't be laughing, but it's because I have been saying it wrong all day, and you corrected me before we started, so I wouldn't sound like a dope mentioning this. But it is Microsoft introduced the Pluton security processor. For whatever reason, I was leaving out the T all day today when I was talking about this.
Yeah.
But the point here, well, I'll just read a couple quotes in here, is in collaboration with leading silicon partners AMD, Intel, and Qualcomm, we are announcing the Microsoft Pluton security processor. This chip-to-cloud security technology pioneered in Xbox and Azure Sphere will bring even more security advancements to future Windows PCs and signals the beginning of a journey with ecosystem and OEM partners. So to me, it kind of sounds like Apple's T2 processor, which they have running on their Macs, which is kind of the thing that manages the security. There's a whole bunch of details in here. Well, let me rephrase. There's not a whole ton of deep technical details because this is essentially a marketing blog introduction.
Mm-hmm. Well, is this the next step of the converged security management? Or was it CSME, right? Converged security management engine in the Intel chips. And the Azure Sphere is their IoT, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Management. Yes. So they want the secure boot. And I haven't actually read this article. I did see the announcement, but I didn't get a chance to really look at it much. But it's interesting that they got it from both AMD and Intel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this moves forward, because like I said, it's kind of a marketing blog post. So it's not heavy on details. I'm sure we'll find out more details as time goes on, but interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Apple has their T2, right? The coprocessor that runs a little, little version of iOS, and is where they store the Touch ID data and runs the secure enclave and stuff like that. So, feels like this is kind of the
same thing.
I don't know, I was going to say successors, but it's not really a successor, maybe competitor to that. Mm-hmm. Although, I know Intel has had their TPM, the Trusted Platform, Trusted Platform module, TPM, for a long time, and they've worked on Secure Boot. But I guess the thing that I observe in situations like that is it's not exclusively about the tech. The tech is critical, obviously, but you do need an ecosystem. You do need you can't do it without the partnership of the OS vendors or the OSs that are going to support it. You can't do it without services for key management. You can't do it without, some sort of management of, trust. Okay. And it's interesting. I think I did an article a few weeks ago. I think it was the Azure Sphere where, one of the advanced threat research folks at McAfee had done, a number of disclosures in vulnerabilities and got them fixed in Azure Sphere. You can't do it. You can't do it alone.
Yeah,
Intel can't do it.
No,
so
exactly.
Seeing Microsoft Azure or Microsoft Intel AMD together, okay, that makes a lot more sense to me. And I guess it also makes sense that it might have initiated in something that was more tightly controlled, like the Xbox.
Right. It's a lot easier, as Apple has proven, to build something if you own everything from the silicon to the hardware to the physical device to the software, because you can design for the ecosystem as opposed to just an individual part, which has been the general model in Windows/world forever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I wish them nothing but the best. We'll have to see how well it's adopted and how what additional surface exists. But that's good.
That was a good pun. Maybe an unintentional pun.
Oh, that was an unintentional pun. Windows
Surface, well
Microsoft
done.
Surface. Okay. Haha. Da, 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 da. I'll be here all night. Actually, I won't be.
I amuse myself.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
So I only brought one article, but I'm going to do two something funs because I gotta keep it up. Okay, but my article this week is about Webex vulnerabilities. So the Cisco was patching these today, I think. I forget when I posted. When did I see him post this? Yes, today. Sorry, I had to actually reopen the article and look at the date. So the first interesting thing about this is, so there are three of them, but they were discovered earlier this year when researchers at IBM were conducting security audits of their remote working tools. So, good for IBM. Clearly, they were responsibly disclosed because it's a lot of months later. But the I don't know. I can totally picture the team being, well, we now have, I don't even know how many people IBM employs anymore, but I'll say tens of thousands of people that are now all going to be working remotely. Mm-hmm. And how much do we really trust these, remote collaboration tools? Right. And they've got a security department, so go do a red team test or something. So the three vulnerabilities though, so allow you to, here's the three things. First, join a Webex meeting as a ghost user, invisible to others on the participant list, but with full access to audio, video, chats, and screen sharing.
Awesome.
Not good. Remain in a Webex meeting as a ghost audio user, even after being expelled from it. So,
awesome squared.
Not good. And then obtain information on meeting participants, such as names, email addresses, and IP addresses. This information could also be obtained from the meeting room lobby even before the attacker was admitted to a call.
Galaxy awesome.
Galaxy awesome. That might be my title right there, dude. Galaxy awesome. So, yeah. So those seem... You know what that says? That says protocol vulnerability. So,
oops.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is, I don't know. That's exactly what that says to me. So, there's another quote in here that says, attackers who gained access to a meeting URL. So that's kind of a critical thing. So they did need the meeting URL. Right. Could connect to the Webex server, send malformed packets, and manipulate the server into gaining access. So that's what it's kind of what I mean by protocol vulnerability. Clearly there's some negotiation and some vulnerabilities / weaknesses / non-validated. Hey, Eric, have we ever mentioned you should never trust anything coming from a client?
Exactly.
So, clearly they were, they did some protocol analysis and, I don't know, maybe they did some fuzzing of that, but so here's the next quote actually from IBM. It was, in our analysis, we identified the specific values of the client information that could be manipulated during the handshake process to make the attendee invisible on the participants panel. The IBM research team said. So, Wireshark.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe since it's probably over HTTP, they might have done a self-signed cert in the middle. I don't know if Webex uses cert pinning or not. I'm going to go with no. But anyway, so the one thing that could potentially mitigate this is that the vulnerabilities can only be exploited if the attackers know the URLs. So
Right.
you'd have to have the link from somewhere.
Right.
But lots of people have their mail and presumably calendars stolen.
Available.
Yep. But the other thing kind of counter to that is that personal rooms. So Webex has this notion of most of the meetings have just it's not as long as a GUID, but essentially a unique random ID assigned for every meeting. So the URLs can't be guessed. But personal rooms have the user's name in them because there's so that's a predictable URL. So that would be more vulnerable. So that's interesting. But then the final stat, not really related to the vulnerability at all, but just the remote teleconferencing is a good business to be in 2020. So, and it will be interesting as my presumption of how 2021 is going to go is that, we're going to still be working from home remotely for the first half of the year or the first quarter at least. And yeah, if the vaccines are available in the, first part of the year, first quarter, that's fantastic. I still think that it'll be a kind of a gradual reopening back up as more and more people are vaccinated. And we have a little bit more trust there. It will be interesting to see how much of the gain they retain, in 2021 and beyond. Because this says that Webex usage grew 451% this year. So more than a quadruple. And they didn't grow as much as Zoom did, I don't think.
Yeah.
But,
I have to believe that this video conferencing is the new normal. It's way cheaper than flying someplace. And if it has been successful for your business, or at least not detrimental, the finance people are going to be saying, hey, why don't you be doing your sales calls over video conference instead of flying and spending up lots of money? So
I mostly agree. I think the thing for me, it's more valuable just in time. I mean, think of the time that you spend sitting in an airplane, sitting in an airport, sitting, in a lift, driving somewhere, all for, a day or something. And there is, sorry, this is totally a sidebar. There is value to being in person.
Yeah.
For some things. Absolutely.
Correct.
But there's also a reason why, I personally, at least, I video conference in almost every meeting I'm in. And it's to try and get a more personal connection with the people that I'm working with. And, and I, I'll put it out there. I hope that I travel less even after things unlock than I did before. But and I've been happy to see how much more people are willing to video than they were a year ago too. I think it's becoming much more commonplace. And we're in a, the high tech sector, let's just say in general is maybe not quite uniquely, but pretty uniquely able to function remotely. And, software development in particular, we're already working with teams around the world that are operating independently. I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind, though, is, not everybody has the same situations in terms of, people with younger kids have a much harder time, especially when the schools aren't in session. People I'm not a victim in any of this, but I don't have great internet access. I mean, and the fact that, I've got two Zoom classes for my kids and then myself on video on a 15 megabit connection. I'm just amazed it works at all. Is awesome. But there's lots of people that have even less availability or less reliable internet.
Yeah.
And so it's not I think it would be a mistake to think this is going to be the way everything is, but I think it'll be a lot more common.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And hey, maybe Elon Musk will get Starlink and I'll get Starlink. I don't know. I don't know that I could support him. Anyway.
All right.
Anyway, that is. Yep. Hit me up. Something fun.
So earlier today, we were having a conversation about you wanted to run a specific app on the new Apple M1 Max with the M1 chip.
Yes. Okay, but we should do the M1. I threw M1 as one of my something funs. We have to talk about that first before you do this.
Oh, okay.
Do you want?
I don't know.
Doesn't that come first? Okay, so
do you want to do your M1 first?
We have to at least mention this so that in a year or two we can go back and say, look, we talked about this a couple of years ago. So because the big announcement last week, I don't think we talked about this last week.
No,
in the
I
podcast,
don't think we did either.
Is Apple released their own chips to put in Macs. Apple's been designing and having TSMC manufacture the chips for their SoCs, system on a chips for their phones and tablets for years, right? They bought that chip company in 2008 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And, ever since they've been, putting their own chips together, the A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, up to they're at the A14 at the moment. But so they took that same basic ARM design and did a laptop chip or a desktop chip. And they have ported I know we talked about this at some point, that Apple's totally going to do this.
We have talked about it. Yeah.
So the day is here. They've done it. And the chip, hypothetically, in their marketing material and in their Geekbench, which, all benchmarks are inauthentic to some extent, but this chip is faster in general performance at a lower watt or price or performance per watt than any other Mac that Apple's ever made, including their Mac Pros. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy. So you can now buy MacBook Air, which is their thin, light, 13-inch, I think, notebook.
Yeah, entry-level laptop.
Yeah, for $1,000, and it has no fan. It is completely, entirely passively cooled, just like an iPad, and it gets how many hours? 12 hours of battery life.
I thought it was like 18. It depends on what you're doing. Like
but essentially,
it's insane.
All day. So they practically doubled the battery life and have a faster CPU than any other Mac ever shipped, including it's actually faster when doing emulation of x86 code, because that's one of the things is that
which I don't understand.
Well,
how do they do that?
They're transpiling it. That's the thing. They're transpiling it when the app's installed. It's not being emulated on the fly.
Okay.
So
I think I missed that bit.
treat that as, some dude on the internet said that they were doing. But that's I've read a number of things that that looks like that's what they're doing. So so essentially think of that as being, JITted, just in time compiled or just in time transpiled when the app's installed, so that and then that's cached. So. But it's faster, even in what they call their Rosetta, is the software that will basically allow you to run programs that are only compiled for x86, the Intel chips, even on the ARM Macs. But even so, even running through that interpretation layer, it's still faster than the equivalent Intel chips, and with double the battery life, essentially. So it's pretty insane. I'll tell you though, they didn't release any touch. I really expected them to have touch screens, and I was surprised that didn't happen.
Yeah, that limits the number of apps that you can. It doesn't limit. It makes it less useful for some apps on the M1 chip, because one of the big features is if you build an iOS app, and we'll just roll right into something fun
go
here.
Ahead.
If you build an iOS app or have an iOS app but not a Mac app, all your iOS apps now, at least from a can they point of view, can run on these new Mac with the M1 chips in them.
Because they've got the same CPU architecture.
Yes. So they can all just run. However, I, as a app developer, for any reason I so choose, can go into the App Store and say, please don't show Mac users my app as an app that's able to run on their Mac. And I might do that for various reasons, just usability. I don't want, people calling about bugs with usability because certain things, or I have custom frameworks that don't work. And if you run apps that aren't designed in a certain way to run on the Mac, then it'll be in like a fixed window size. So it'll be the phone size window, and you can't
the
resize
user experience
it.
might not be.
The user experience may not be that great. But there are some people, as I began this with, like John, who don't care and would like to run their iPhone or iPad app on a Mac. You don't have one yet, but you would if you could. You would want to do this, and so of course, right away, people have figured out how to install and run an iPhone or iPad app that the developer has said, please don't show this on the Mac App Store. So
that's awesome.
Basically,
people are awesome.
There are several ways to do this, right? You can. There are apps you can run. One called iMazing, which is what the Verge article that we'll link to references about, which basically will back up your on their IP. They're essentially zip files that run the apps, and you can put them on your computer. And historically, it's been for backup, or if you want to debug something, or for other reasons you would want to do this. Now you can use the same type of thing and copy it there and run it. I've seen some other articles mention if you use the Apple configurator, you can have it download the apps for the Apple configurator, and through that mechanism you can go and have them launch. So as much as developers may not want people to run their apps on these new Macs, the cat is out of the bag, and it doesn't appear to be much you can do, or Apple can do at this point, to stop people from using some of these other features. Short of, well, I'm sure there is something they can do. It's software, but anyways, so that would be something fun to link in there.
That's awesome.
And then
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I was tempted. I probably still am tempted a little bit, but my I don't know. I'm still tempted. But I don't know. There's a couple things in there that are still like bugging me. The size of the hard drives that are in there. Can I easily get I'm talking about buying a brand new. I'd probably get the thing I was looking at most was the Mac Mini, because I've got another monitor here. I don't actually need I don't need a laptop, and I don't need they didn't release an iMac, but I don't need another screen. So the Mac Mini would be it. But I can't believe that they're limited to 16 gigs of RAM. That seems really low. There's no Docker support. So, how and when will Docker support come in? I do a lot of stuff from the command line. There's no brew
has
support.
Issues, yeah.
Yep, there's no brew support. There's
coming.
I mean, so that's kind of why I'm like, well, I'll let it be. I'll let it be for a little bit and see. I mean, I expect, given 3 months or 6 months or something like that, it'll be better. And I don't know. Depends on how patient I am with. I do have some things going wrong with my personal Mac, seemingly, but and I'm short on disk space. That's the thing. I'm like fighting in my 1 terabyte. I got a 1 terabyte SSD in here, and I've only got like less than 50. I had to clear off a bunch of space so I could install the upgraded Xcode just 2 days ago, and it's all the photo library. Oh my gosh. But I need this to have all the full res things, because this is my source of my full res backup. So Anyway, sorry, that's TMI. I'll have to cut that out. Anyway,
all right,
back to you.
So there you go. So yeah, there's your part. It's a joint something fun.
That'll be a joint something fun. Yep. How to run any iPhone app. It's awesome.
Yeah. My second one that I thought of as we started, which I didn't originally have, was, have you seen the Bill Gates and Rashida Jones Ask Big Questions podcast?
I have not.
I think it's great. So I listened and watched. I listened to the first episode. So the first episode, it's Bill Gates and Rashida Jones. It's a 45-minute podcast. The first episode is, what will the world look like after COVID-19? Which is probably something on a lot of people's minds. So, and they have, anyways, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can click on the link and, read basically what episode 1 talks about. But it's a great podcast. I think it's going to be a fun podcast to listen to going forward.
Oh, they've only got the first episode out.
Correct. Yeah, it's brand new. So it's a brand new podcast. There's anyways, it was fun. I enjoyed listening to it. And
okay,
someone,
I will
I throw that on your
to my
podcast list
player right now.
There you go. There's
right
my
now.
something fun. My non-Apple something fun.
Search. What is it called? Bill Gates.
Bill Gates and Rashida Jones Ask Big Questions. And if you're looking for episode 22 or episode number 2, which comes out next week, it's Is Inequality Inevitable?
All right. Consider myself subscribed. I just punched the subscribe number. So, okay. I will give it a listen.
Alrighty.
All right. My other something fun, since we're doing the interleaved something funs, was a science thing on Mars. And I don't know. This was just something I thought was cool, in that I like space, and I'm interested in how did the planets get the way they are, and what does that imply for what else is around them, and what are I do think if I fast forward 200 years, are we still locked up on planet Earth? I mean, I hope that we will have treated planet Earth better than we have for the last 100 years, but I I
Are
still
we
think that
terraforming Mars in 200 years?
It's not that we have to get this. Earth is the best home that we know of for humanity. We have to take care of Earth first. But that being said, I would love to see us, expending a little bit more of our, let's say, planetary capital on building a moon base, getting to Mars, exploring the solar system, harvesting a $10 quadrillion worth of asteroid.
Yeah.
Or at least, building the robots that will go and start building the things for when other things get there. So, anyway, so this is more about Mars and water. So the Maven has been orbiting Mars since 2014, and it scooped up water molecules in Mars's ionosphere at altitudes of 150 kilometers, which was higher than the highest previously seen, which was about 80 kilometers. So the point of this is that Mars is actually losing water faster than we had previously estimated, or the process of water getting up so high, which means that it's easier to have the oxygen bind to something else, and the hydrogen atoms float away. In fact, it said water up there is split apart quickly, on average lasting only 4 hours, leaving hydrogen atoms to float away. So this process is 10 times faster than previously known ways for Mars to lose water, they calculated. So, and this says this process could account for Mars losing the equivalent of a 44 centimeter deep global ocean in the past billion years, plus another 17 centimeter deep ocean during each global dust storm, the team found. That can't explain all of Mars's water loss, but it's a start. So, I thought this was cool. And more space, please. That's what I say.
Yeah.
More space.
Very cool. Although that doesn't sound like a good thing for potential colonization of Mars if it's going to lose water very fast.
It's actually the thing I would be more scared about that is realizing that what does that mean for if and when we start doing similar things on Earth?
Losing water. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's not a billion-year process. Maybe it's only a few million years. And the difference between a million and a billion is a lot. So anyway, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I'll throw the Science News link in here, but
cool.
It's good stuff. All right, man. Call it a show.
Yep. Have a good night, John.
All right. Have a good one. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.